Hi, this is Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Today I'm excited, really excited to share with you the Paradise Jewels collection. I know I've said this before and you probably don't believe me anymore, but because I love them all. But this is perhaps my favorite kit of the kits I've done from Hunkydory. I've had so much fun with this, and you're going to see the fun in the examples. This Paradise Jewels topper set has 8 different topper sets. As usual, it has 8 die-cut gold foil toppers. It has 8 pieces of coordinating printed cardstock with gold foiling, and it has 8 printed cardstocks. The heavy cardstocks are on 350 GSM card, and the toppers are on 300 GSM card. That's just the weight of the cardstock, and that's both of those are heavier than the cardstock we're used to using in the United States. So really, really nice patterns. Let's take a look. Before we get going with the actual samples, I want to show you some of the paper supplies that I used in putting my cards together. So we have Paradise Jewels luxury inserts. I always recommend those because they're beautiful. They're printed to match the outside of the card, and depending on how you cut them and use them, you can have enough to cover all of your cards in one kit. So nice. I used the 50 Shades of Darker Mary. However, if you still have some left, or if you've already have the 50 Shades of Festive Mary, it'll work just as well. So 50 Shades of Mary. Our last video was the Flight of the Butterflies video, and for that I had the sumptuous selection of Adorable Scorable out, and I had the jeweled edition luxury foiled acetate. I used supplies from both of these in this video, so if you don't have those already, I recommend getting those. They're really versatile supplies and you'll use them on a lot of projects. Because the cards themselves, you can see my cameraman there. Hi, honey. Because the cards themselves are gold foiled, I used extra gold Mary, and I used the 8x8 Mary mats. But if you have gold Mary, that'll be fine. And then usual supply in this case, I use some of these wonderful new handmade bags. We've just added these to the store, and you're going to be amazed at how pretty these little bags turned out. I recommend that you check out the Paradise Jewels Little Book. I didn't make samples out of the Little Book today because I wanted to get this video out the door to you, but I don't want you to think that this isn't just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than any of the others. Let's take a look at some of the patterns. Now remember, you get 6 of each of 24 prints, so you get 144 pages. Look at that wonderful peacock. This big glitzy butterfly. I wasn't sure I liked that until I decorated it. Now I love it. It's wonderful. Okay, another peacock. I love these dragonflies. Of course, they're in my colors. They're in the beautiful lavenders that I love so much. More beautiful butterflies. Look at those orchids. Aren't they just stunning? Wonderful flitting little butterflies. The bluebird in the cherry tree. What fun. The swan is so pretty. Oh, wait till you see it. The crane. My daughter calls the crane the hall monitor. She's in high school this year, and she says the cranes, the way they stand, remind her of the hall monitor standing at the ends of the hallways. Here's the hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds. Lots of pages of hummingbirds. More of the orchids. Getting awkward to hold. Butterflies. And I'm only going through such detail with this because I want you to know how absolutely gorgeous this paper is. It's really, really pretty. Sideways peacocks. Really showing off those fans. Wait till you see what we did with the koi fish. There's another scene of the koi. Oh, they're so pretty. Another peacock. More swans. So we have Portrait in a landscape swan, that's nice. Another beautiful hummingbird. Another beautiful lavender dragonfly. What's not to love there? More of those artsy butterflies. Some more fuchsias, and that's the end of things. But gorgeous, beautiful book. Highly recommended. We may sell out of these. If we do, I'm trying to get more, so be patient if they sell out. In addition to the paper supplies, this time I generously use this ornamental easel card. It is fabulous. It has this great lace pieces. This is not an inexpensive kit. This won't be for everybody because you have to have a large format machine to use it. But this piece right here actually cuts out an easel card. Oops, and these little lines across here. It actually scores it for you and cuts it out. And it has slightly ruffly edge. Then you have these big, beautiful lace pieces, frames. You've got these wonderful lace panels that I use generously. You'll see those. You have some wonderful rectangles here. I won't take them off the page. There's two beautiful rectangles and two wonderful lace pieces. And I use this generously. Now this is not an inexpensive set, but I'm going to have a special price for you to celebrate the release of this video. So watch for that. Another thing that I've done here is I have made generous use of ribbon in this video. Now I get a lot of questions about, Debbie, how do you tie your bows? And I have tied them by hand in the past, but I have to admit, after using this neat little tool that I'm going to show you in another video within just the next 2 days or so, we'll have that video up. After using this tool, I think I'll probably tie them this way all the time because they really, really turn out pretty, and they'll see those throughout the video. So watch for a separate video on using the bow maker. Also, in my cards, I've used these before, and you've asked about these, so I'll do a little short demo on the pins that I put in my bows when we do the bow maker video. I'll show you just briefly how I put my pins together. I used pretty slides on some of the bows, and we'll have these up and available in the store by the time the video comes out. Look at these fun slides that you can put right into your bow. And I also used a couple of things I wanted to point out. One of our customers last time asked me, how do you get the really fine detail when you go to put down your glitter? Hunkydory recommends, and now I recommend, the Quickie glue pen. They're wonderful. It's got a real fine tip on it. You use it like a ballpoint pen, but you can outline things wonderfully, and you'll see how I've used that quite generously in this video. I use the butterfly trails glitter generously throughout this video. For some of my embellishments, I have used this detail glue from Tattered Lace. I'm going to have a special on this too for the people who are watching the video. I'll have a special video promotion where when you buy the Tattered Lace, you can get the little screw-on mini tip for free with the purchase of a glue bottle. That's a good bonus because those are kind of expensive. And I really, really recommend for attaching your bows. They can be difficult to attach because they pull loose from a lot of adhesives. This stuff is great. The best glue ever is perfect for this purpose because the glue dries sticky. It's still sticky when it dries, so when you put it into your bow and you let it set up a little bit, it really grabs hold of all those little fibers, and then it hangs on for dear life. You can actually make your own glue dots using this glue because it dries sticky with a very firm hold. So this is great for attaching your bows. So that's our supplies. Let's get on to the fun stuff. Okay, we're going to start here with our topper set for the peacocks. We get this great, big, generous, beautiful peacock topper, this littler one, and then your beautiful inside and out, a little accent piece, and two pretty pieces of ribbon. Now once again, don't forget to clip these and save these outside borders, because you'll find in some cases they're exactly what you need to finish off a card. This one says happy birthday, thank you so much, and to a special friend. So it's got some nice sentiments on that one. Here's the foiled accent piece to that. You can see that beautiful foiling along the peacock feathers there, and this side having the beautiful lace. That's nice accent too. Here's our wonderful peacock in the corner. You know what we're going to do with him. And we got a nice border across here and a beautiful piece of lace across. Lots of potential here. Let's see what we did with it. Okay, here's that great big set. In this case, I've taken a 7x7 card, a little larger than I usually use, but I wanted all the pieces for this one, so I used a 7x7. I split the frame, which is a 3-piece frame, and I turned the inside frame at an angle, which I think was really pretty. This was actually an idea that was shared by Hunkydory on the packaging, and I liked it, but of course I took that and ran with it. In addition to the framing, I added some AB rhinestones from Hunkydory in the corners. I added some little tiny rhinestones to the tail feathers of the peacock, and then I fine lined glittered some of the tail feathers, and I just outlined the peacock with that glitter and used that butterflies trails glitter. I tied a big foofy bow using my bow maker, and I put a pearl slide on that bow, so it's actually this is actually part of the bow, and then I used 3 of my stick pins in the corners. Isn't that stunning? Oh my gosh, it's so glittery and wonderful. Very, very pretty. If you like this, you're gonna love this video. Here's my next one. Here's that corner piece we talked about. I just covered my A2 card. A2 is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's kind of a US standard. That's the size of a quarter folded piece of typing paper. But I covered my A2 cardstock with kind of lime green Mary from my 50 Shades pack. I added my thank you so much to my topper. I cut my topper just about 1/4 of an inch smaller, so this would be 4 by 5 1/4. And then I went to town embellishing, and once again I added little rhinestones. I want you to see if you can pick up some of the glitter. I added rhinestones to the tail feathers. I had some little tiny rhinestones. I'll show you later where I got those little bitty ones. And then some small, like 3mm rhinestones to the tail feathers, and then after I set my rhinestones, I went around and just did some very light glittering in the peacock, added one right to his chest, and I think he's beautiful. Next, the third peacock in this set is the smaller of the 2 toppers off the topper sheet. This time I created a gatefold card. In this case, I took a 6x6 gatefold. I used some of my backing paper from this, and I covered that gatefold card. I covered each panel individually, so each panel I applied there was 3x6. Then I used some nice border pieces. Now, remember I said save those borders? All of these were throwaway pieces, and I salvaged those to use because I wanted to border it all the way around and just give it a little bit more life at the edges and pull that peacock theme back in. And I had some wonderful peacock feathers on those throwaway pieces, so I used that. Then I took a piece of the acetate from that butterflies kit, and I held up my topper. This is my topper I put onto, I better explain my stack here. I put my topper up on foam tape on a piece of that acetate. Then I put the acetate on a piece of teal blue colored Mary. I matted that teal on gold, so I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers right there. And then I rough cut a piece of that acetate. So I'm not using any stencil or anything. I'm literally just kind of whacking it out. And I made it slightly larger. And I split that piece in two. You can see it easier here. I split that piece in two and put half of it on each side of my card. Then I mounted my final topper piece on top there, added my bow, and I always try to put some kind of a little surprise under the flap just because I like to do that. It's kind of one of my signature things to do. So I used the You're Beautiful Inside and Out right here. Wanted to pull my teal colors back in, so I just put a little strip of teal there. I thought that turned out pretty. And I brought my teal to the inside with my insert piece. It says, "With love and best wishes." Didn't that turn out pretty? Our next topper set is called Winged Wonders, and it's dragonflies and butterflies. You get those 2 large toppers with multi-pieces in each topper. Each of them has a 3-piece frame, or a topper with 2-piece frame. Nice ribbon border, you'll see that used in these little embellishments. Birthday wishes and butterfly kisses, follow your dreams, just for you. Couple little that are punched with tags. Nice set. Here's that lace coming in again. Isn't that beautiful, the way they've done the butterflies in front of the lace? And then those fun bright colors. It's kind of an unexpected effect with the lace there, but I like it a lot. Oh, I was looking for the foiled piece. This is the foiled piece. They didn't do a lot of foil on this one, but the foiling you can see there is in the dragonfly wings. And once again, you look at that beautiful corner, you know what we're going to do with that. Okay, let's start with this one. Here's what we did with it. I covered a DL card. That's an 8x4. It's just referred to as DL. Don't ask me what the acronym DL means. I don't know. But I covered it in dark blue, really dark blue Maryboard. Then I cut my topper just slightly smaller, or I cut my cardstock into a topper just slightly smaller than that. So this would be 7 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I mounted that on top of the Mary. Then I went to town with my embellishments. I added my pearls into the center of my lace flowers, just because I kind of liked the way that looked, scattering them. I added my little butterfly topper. I added a jewel border from the Gold Jewel Borders collection from Dazzles, hot off the press. A greeting from Dazzles. And then I did my glittering. Now you notice I keep saying I put my jewels on before I did my glittering. That's because if you do your glittering first, the jewels may or may not stick. So put your jewels down before you do your glittering in most cases. And again, just a touch of glitter just surrounding the butterflies, and then I kind of followed the edge of the lace just for a little bit of added accent. Added a nice insert, wishing you a very happy birthday. Used one of my leftover border pieces on the inside just because I don't like to waste them. So when I'm all done making my kit, I go through and add borders and other little touches to the insides of my cards. Next up, another gatefold card. And this one features something I'm excited about. I just got in these wonderful pastel lavender flourishes. Aren't those pretty? They're dimensional, so they stand up. They should still mail fine. But aren't they pretty? You might want to mark hand stamped on the envelope if you use these flourishes, because they are kind of high. But if you're hand delivering them, you obviously don't have to worry about it. And in this case, I built my topper up on a piece of adorable scoreable so that I could layer my topper. I used 2 layers on the outside and then built up the center. and I added AB rhinestones around the edge about every, let's say that's not 3/4, it's probably every inch around the outside, pulling these rhinestones and these flourishes together with my topper. I added a rhinestone to the head of each of the dragonflies, and then I lightly glittered them. I put my little Just For You up on foam tape, hid my little dragonfly inside, as I so often do, and just a little note to say, isn't that pretty? Our next one is the large topper off that topper sheet. And I didn't do a lot to this one. I just thought it was really pretty and it had a lot going for it. So I took a piece of my background paper, I cut it, leaving the border on one side. I mounted it on a 5x7 card. This is a pretty big topper, so it needed a 5x7. Added my pretty little lavender flourishes again because they went really well with this set. I added my little saying. Now you'll note that in this one I raised the outside, I glued the inside frame flush to my paper, and I raised my center up on foam tape. I added a jewel to the head of each butterfly, and then very lightly glittered. I hope you're being able to see the glitter accents in the video because they really are very, very pretty. Lined the inside with a corresponding insert. Done. Very pretty. Next, I took that corner piece with the dragonfly and I just used the border. Yeah, I just used the border that was with it. And what I did, because I just wanted a little bit, this piece wasn't foiled and I wanted a little bit of foiling, so I used a thin line sticker, one of my thin line mirrors, right along the edge of the border piece that they had printed onto the card. About every 3/4, so actually every third flower I covered with a rhinestone. I added rhinestones to the heads of the dragonflies, used my nice pretty flourish here, and then did some light glittering. Are you seeing a theme? Glitter, rhinestones. In the next few sets you're going to begin to see some bows. Every single card in this set has at least one of those elements, if not all three. Lined it with corresponding insert paper. Beautiful. Okay, here's the first use of a card using that tattered lace set. In this case I used that lace panel. I cut it with pearl paper and then mounted that on a piece of gold mirror board. This is just a piece of my background from the background sheet. I wanted something else here, so I added a little butterfly off my sticker sheet. I added a piece of gold glitter ribbon because I liked the way that looked, brought in some more shine and sparkle. I put 3 little rhinestones at the bottom of my tag. I put rhinestones at the heads of each one of the butterflies. Now again, I'm using some pretty small ones here. If you don't have really small rhinestones, sometimes they're kind of hard to find. In fact, I haven't been able to find them from any of my distributors. I pulled some out of my stash. But if you can't find these little like 1 to 2 millimeter rhinestones, you could also use, what's the product? Oh my gosh, I had it in my head. Glitter glue. You're going to have to edit this part. Stickles. Okay. Sometimes these little tiny rhinestones like this can be hard to find. I haven't been able to find them at any of my distributors, but if you do, and I pulled these out of my stash, but if you don't have these little tiny rhinestones like this, consider making, just put a little dot of glitter glue with your stickles there, and that will still create a really pretty effect. So use what you have. I've added a rhinestone to my butterfly here, 3 down here, put it up on foam tape and kind of run it across that panel, and didn't that turn out beautiful? Kind of bringing in that lacy element that we see in the print. Next we're going to look at the birds of paradise. This time we have, I'm not sure what kind of crane this is, but we have a tall crane and we have these beautiful hummingbirds. And this is just a really generous topper sheet because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 nice sized toppers, plus some borders, plus some sentiments. So there's a lot we can do with this. We made 6 cards out of this 3-piece topper set. So here's the toppers. Here's those pretty butterflies featured on the corner. And we have this nice ghosted image of a flower in the side. And I love this little border here. Doesn't that just say, add jewel here? Here's some more of those lacy effects in this tall crane. I think he's beautiful. Okay. Here we go. I'll show you the simplest card first. Most of these cards are decidedly female, or at least for individuals who like lots of glitter and rhinestones and things. So this one, when I made it, I actually left this one a little bit tamer in case you wanted to have a more masculine card in the set. So I just punched it out of its frame. I added it to a card that I had covered with kind of steel blue mirror board. Really nice that the 50 Shades of Mirror you can match to almost any design and get a nice corresponding color. I added this kind of bronze colored bow and I added these jewels. So I did not put glitter on this one, but I guess I still ended up with 2 out of the 3 elements. I still have jewels and ribbon. Here's another one I did not glitter, but this time I have jewels and acetate. And I just basically did the same thing. I covered my background with a piece of my background adorable scoreable that was supplied in the border piece. And then I rough cut a piece of acetate to fit around the outer circle. I put my inner oval up on foam tape, added 4 of the gold jewels and a little border strip, and that was enough. It just turned out really pretty, I think. My next hummingbirds, I embellished more. I covered my A2 card, that's step 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, with gold mirror board. Then I cut out my topper sheet, and this time I left a little bit wider borders. I cut a 1/2 inch smaller, so this would be 3 3/4 this way by 5 this way. And then I mounted that on a piece of blue mirror board to just kind of get this double matted effect. I added 3 jewel dazzles at the top, not dazzles, 3 jewels at the top, and then I more generously glittered this using that kind of ghosted flower in the background. I kind of traced the flower petals out to just kind of give that a really glittery background on this one. And I put the heartfelt thanks on this one and lined it with a matching insert. Isn't that pretty? Okay, time to look at our hall monitors. Here's the corner piece. And in this one, I just cut it along the border that they had created. I wanted a little bit more glitter effect because, again, that sheet didn't have any foiling, so I added this pretty little border. Here's some of those gemstones again. Added my topper, and then I glittered very, very lightly. In the cranes, I just did this little top headdress he's wearing, and I did a little bit of glitter in the water, but I think that turned out really pretty. And here's his matching insert. This is my daughter's favorite card. Here's our crane looking off in the distance, and again I glittered just his little headdress there, and that's the only glitter I put on him. I split my frame into two pieces. The center piece is up on some foam tape. That's backed with a piece of rough cut acetate. And then I have run a piece of ribbon, crocheted ribbon, around and anchored it under my topper piece, between my topper and the mirror board that I covered the card with. Added a few little gold accents, and I think that turned out really pretty. Very unusual. Okay, here's the last of our hall monitors, and this is a really simple card. Again, once again, I've used this background. I covered my A2 card. I punched out the frame and put the frame down to flush mounted with my cardstock, and then I put my topper up on some foam tape, my little oval here. I have glittered just little bits of the water in his headdress only, and I added 2 gems. And I just think that turned out very, very pretty. Here's another really elegant set. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. Look at this beautiful swan. And you get kind of a lily flower in front here, water lily. Pretty little tag, pretty little swan. Just a little note to say happy birthday and wishing you a wonderful day. This beautiful blue bird with the cherries. Now, remember what I said? It's almost like this set says put jewel here. Look, they've put jewels. So, of course, we're going to cover those with rhinestones, but isn't that pretty? 2 pretty borders. Save the pieces. Here's that pretty little bird again. Love, love, love this border. Again, it says to you, put jewels here. I did. And yet another one. Here's the swan. Look at the little jewels on the swan. They're not on there yet, but put jewels here. And in the borders, put jewels here. Okay, I'm happy to do it. So here's one of those beautiful borders. I've used one of these pieces right here for my background to cover my 6x6 card. I added rhinestones in the center of each one of these little flourishes, and then I added a rhinestone here and a rhinestone here. That's the only rhinestones I put on. It looks like there's more, but that's all glitter accents. Let me show you what else I did. When I glittered, I only outlined my bird, and then I followed the lines of a few of his feathers. So I get just a tasteful little bit of glitter on my bird. And then on here, I added glitter to every other little ball in the ball chain across here. And I added glitter where these petals come out here, the lighter colored petals, and to the points. And I think that just ended up being a really pretty effect. Then I added my bow. You can see that my bow is just firmly anchored. When we do our video, I'll show you how to put those bows down and have them just really stay nicely with that best glue ever. And when I made my bow, I put a little flourish there in the center. Isn't that pretty? This is made with sheer and with glittered ribbon. 2 pieces running at the same time, which is really easy to do with your bow maker. On the inside, using up one of my extra little tags, wishing you peace, love, and joy, I ran an extra piece of border and a little image on the inside just because I had so many left over. Here's my other bluebird. This was the actual topper piece. And with the topper, no it's not, I take it back, that was the topper, this is the corner. I cut that little corner treatment out, and I actually cut it fairly small. I lined it with a piece of green, adorable scoreable. Then I mounted that all on a piece of gold mirror board, slightly larger to allow me room to put my rhinestones and not have them drop into the background. I put that on top of a rough cut piece of acetate and mounted all of that on a card that I had covered with dark blue Mary. Added my just a note, added little touches of glitter. Again, just outlining my bird and a few of the feathers just to kind of give it a tasteful little touch of glitter. Gorgeous. Here's the first of my swans. This is the side piece, of course. Just literally cut it. I cut 1/4 of an inch off because these sheets are 8 1/4 inches high, so I cut 1/4 of an inch off and this time I didn't even cover my card with Mary board. I just put that cardstock right down to a 4x8 card. I added rhinestones everywhere I thought the card was saying to me, add stone here. So I did. Here's my little tag off my topper sheet, thinking of you. A nice pretty aqua colored bow. And this time I did add rhinestones to the border. See them there? Every 3rd stone I made a rhinestone, and then I put 2 big ones in the centers of those water lilies. And I outlined my swan in glitter, just went all the way around the outside, glittered down just a couple of his feathers, and then I put some little lines on the water. And I thought that was really pretty. Now this one gets all 3, glitter and rhinestones and bows. And if you thought that was glittery, wait till you see what I've been doing here. Okay, in this case I took that topper sheet. I added it right to a piece of my adorable scoreable border size. This is a 6x6 card, so I cut this to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I wanted a little foil accent, so I put a little shiny thin line dazzle here. I added some rhinestones to the little pieces. Let's look at that again. See where they're saying add stone here? Well, I didn't cover every one of them because that would probably be downright gaudy if I had done that. But I added little rhinestones on the peaks, and then I added little tiny silver rhinestones in the lace. I added little tiny silver rhinestones and little tiny blue rhinestones in the swan. And of course, I lined that with glitter the same way I did the last swan. There's a little dot here. I covered it with a rhinestone. And then I used this flourish. We just got these flourishes in, and I think they're so pretty. They'll be in the jewel, or in the, the jewel embellishment section of the store. Go to Paper Crafting A2, I think it's A2H. The first paper crafting section, then go to embellishments, then look down and find jewels, gems and jewels, and you'll find all these beautiful flourishes available there. I added some blue rhinestones just to kind of pull it together with the other pieces, and I think it just turned out so pretty. Now I promised to tell you how I got these little tiny silver rhinestones. I cut one of these pieces apart and used it in various pieces in my cards, but I had a couple of these little swirls left, so I just clipped them apart one by one, and I placed those little gems right in the swan. If you can't get the super tiny ones, that's another way to do it, is to cut up other pieces of flourish that you might have to use those individual stones. But isn't that something? Our next topper sheet is called Bejeweled Blossoms. We have orchids and fuchsias and butterflies in bright pinks and kind of lime green color tones. nice border pieces. Each of these toppers has a 3-piece frame. This one, I like the way they do this. Sometimes they'll create these little thinner toppers, and then they create a little thinner greeting to go with them. I don't always use them that way, but it's nice that they make them so that they're the same size. They've done the same thing here. Pretty. Here's our fuchsias. I'm not sure I would have thought of putting the green and fading into pink, but didn't that turn out pretty the way they did that? And here's our foil piece. And this corner piece of foil was just unbelievable. I couldn't stand to put a topper over it, so I actually made a card out of this. I'll show you. And here's another big, beautiful corner treatment. My goodness, it's like you tempted to make a big old A5 card or something that would be half a sheet. I don't make any that big because you guys don't like them when they're huge. So I tend to go a little bit smaller, but it's still beautiful, isn't it? Let's see what we get. I'll show you that corner piece first. I just couldn't stand to cover that up with a topper. So I just cut the corner out, and literally all I did was mount that corner on an A2 card and save that pretty rich foiling. I added a dragonfly, I added a topper, and I said, that's good. I'm going to leave that one alone. Because it had such rich foiling, I just didn't have the heart to cover it up. Inside, just a little plain piece. One of my saved border strips. Done. I think that's pretty though. Here's another one that I used the technique that we saw on the very first card that I showed you, where you split the frame and turn it at an angle. And it looks so elegant, and yet it's so little work to do that. Added 3 little rhinestones. Added my topper and a couple little rhinestones here. Put on a nice bow. And again, my bows are just very, very well anchored. Some little glitter accents. Once again, I've added a rhinestone to the head of the butterfly just to kind of draw attention to the butterfly. Some tasteful little accents. I've outlined the butterflies themselves, and then just one little part of each one of the orchids, kind of like the inside petals of each of the orchids, just to kind of draw attention to those. And I think that turned out pretty. A couple little words with love there. With love to a special friend. I like the way that turned out. Inside, matching piece of insert paper. Next, this is another really simple card, but I love it. An A2 card, that 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I just took a piece of my background card. I covered my A2. I took my topper and attached it to a piece of acetate, and then I rough cut around it, just enough to allow it to fit on my A2 card. Anchored that down. The anchors are behind this topper, so you don't see where I've anchored the acetate. Added 3 little jewels here, 3 little jewels here, the word blessing. I outlined the butterflies, and that's all I did. But I think that turned out so pretty. On the inside, my insert paper was just a little bit short. I was running out of insert paper, so I added a border here so I could cut this a little bit narrower. And that works out well to get you some extra inserts here and there. Use some of those borders you have left over to make your insert stretch. Okay, here's one of my fuchsias. I was looking at this card and I thought, if I use this here on an A2 card, I really want to put a sentiment here, but I didn't want to go and find some gold sentiments, so I decided that I was going to bring black into it. So to bring in the black, I covered my A2 card in black mirror board. I matted my little topper in black mirror board. Then I could use the words that I had here at the table where I was working and put sending warm thoughts in black. And that's how we came to have this black and green card. Sometimes you just use what you have available. I added a nice little border strip up here as I put it together, added the little gold jewels, and just a touch, the very simplest little touch of glitter. I put it right at the bottom of each one of the fuchsias. just to add a little touch and little touches over here on these as well. Again, using what I had available at my table. This is another 4 1/4 card. I cut that big pretty corner up and created this one. I had this large area here and I wanted a word for that. But again, I was out of my greetings here at the table, so I had a sheet of scrapbook stickers here. And I had the word bloom in it. And I thought that's appropriate for my orchids, so I put the word bloom and a little sticker that matched the colors of the silver, because it's kind of almost a matte silver in that particular scrapbook dazzle set. So I added a butterfly. I added jewels. Then I glittered right around my butterflies again. This time I glittered just out the stems. I didn't touch the flowers, but I kind of glittered the stems just to kind of give that wispy, glittery look, and added rhinestones to the butterflies. This is my card was covered with a piece of aqua colored mirror board. Isn't that pretty? And while I went, whoops, this one's better right side up. Well, I had that black mirror board out here. I was looking at this one, and this had such bright, vivid red in the outside frame, and this actually turned into more red than pink. So I thought, I wonder what would happen if I combined red and black and kind of gave this a real Asian influence. So that was what my motivation was with this one, was to create kind of an Asian-looking card. I took a 6x6 card, covered it in red, bright red mirror board, cut a slightly smaller piece, a 5 and it looks like about a 5.5 by 5.5 piece of black mirror board, took that 3-piece frame set, broke it in 3 pieces, turned the inside frame again, the same technique again, but it looks very different when it's on this color combination. Added my topper, put 3 jewels here, put a little tiny butterfly and the words happy birthday off of my little words and phrases. Added just little touches around the edges of my flowers of glitter and a bow. So again, we have mirror board, we have rhinestones, we have glitter, and we have ribbon on this one. This set's called Colourful Koi, and I have to admit this was actually one of my favorite sets in 2 regards. One, I just love the colors, and I thought the fish were a lot of fun to work with. And secondly, because I got so many cards out of one set. I think I have 5 cards out of this set. So let's take a look here. We've got 3 toppers here. We've got some nice little accent pieces. Thank you for everything. Good luck, with love and best wishes, a beautiful border strip and some nice saving pieces here and some of these longer stretches. Be sure and save those. Look at that koi in among the water lilies. Isn't that pretty? I mean, you have this beautiful water lily here, you've got a beautiful corner here, you've got this great lace across the top. It's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? And then we have these beautiful koi with 2 beautiful strips of ribbon here. I thought they were just gorgeous. Let's see what we did with them. This is one of my more ornate cards, but I really liked it. I used a piece of my background paper that had that pretty gold border on it. And I mounted that directly to my, I think this is an A6, a US A6 card, which would be 5 by 6.5. Then I added one of those pretty flourishes. Still needed something, so I added this bright pink bow. And in this case, I used a flower slide in the middle of that bow. It's actually kind of a snowflake, I think, but I was trying to kind of tie to the water lily shape, and it kind of looks a little bit like that. And then one of the things I loved doing with the koi fish was creating little air bubbles out of silver or clear rhinestones. Look at the little bubbles coming up from the koi fish. And you can see those little bubbles in the print, so just follow the put gem here and you get that beautiful flourish. This is a busy card. It's got a lot going on, but I think it's really, really pretty. Use the same insert. Boy, I love these matching inserts. Aren't they pretty? Here's what I did to the long, narrow topper. In this case, I covered my A6 card, US A6, 5 by 6.5, with a piece of my background. Now, I wanted 2 pieces of lace. You don't see this at all when you look at this card at first, but I wanted lace on the top and at the bottom. So if you look really carefully here, you can see where I cut the cardstock. I took 2 inches out of the center and slid my 2 pieces together so I'd have lace at the top and at the bottom. So just a tricky little thing to do there to get the pattern the way you want it. You don't have to use it the way they give it to you. So, my pretty flourish here. A little foofy bow. I'll show you how to tie those when we do our bow video. My little good luck. And here's this little air bubbles coming up. And I've just delicately outlined just the fish himself, just to give another little interesting dimension to our koi fish down there and draw him out. He's easy to lose in all of the pattern. And a matching piece. Here's those 3 koi fish that are on the side panel of that background sheet, and you can really see the air bubbles in this one. And in some cases, I think maybe I added some extra air bubbles to this one just because it was such a big piece. I thought it needed it. I outlined each of my koi fish and kind of played with the tails a little bit with the glitter. And I added this pretty bow. You may or may not be able to see it, but I actually added a slide of a turtle in the center. I have those on order. They're not here yet. They're coming from China, but those should be coming in soon, and I'll get those listed in the store when they get here. I tied a pretty little bow and put a turtle in the center of it. Whole thing's done on a 4x8 card that's just been covered with that kind of turquoise colored mirror. Put a matching insert in the inside. Pretty. Okay. Here's another one of those in the water lilies. And I've covered an A6 card, US A6, 5 by 6.5, gold mirror board. Added a border just to the topper portion, cut the topper just slightly smaller than my mirror board. Added a little bit of, well, first I put on my rhinestones over the bubbles because we want to put the rhinestones on before you add the glitter so they'll stick. Added my rhinestones over the bubbles, then I glittered surrounding my fish. And in this case I did the centers of my water lilies. Just for added interest. I was into playing. I was having a great time. I think that's why this is one of my favorite kits ever, is because there's just so much room for creativity. Every card I could see 50 ways that I could do it, and it was tempting not to run and grab another card kit and do it all over again because I had so much fun doing this one. To a very special someone, matching paper inside. Pretty. You know I love purple. I talk about it all the time. So here's my A6 card covered in gold. Then I took a piece of purple mirror board and matted, and then I put my topper on top of the purple, and it's cut large enough that I could put my sentiment underneath. And this is a really simple card, but it looks elegant and it looks pretty. My little extra fish coming into the picture. It's up on some foam tape. I added a purple bow. Then I glittered my fish. Again, I just surrounded my fish and just followed the outline of my fish around, put a little bit extra on the fins. And I think that's just stunningly pretty. Of course, I love purple, so it works. This one's called Butterfly Wishes, and we have this very, very artistic big butterfly. And then we have the little butterflies surrounding the bush. I thought these were interesting ones for them to put together because it's 2 very, very different styles of butterflies. Nice border piece. We've got With Love, Butterfly Wishes, Best Wishes, and especially for you with some extra little accents. There's a little With Love. I don't think I mentioned that one. An extra little accent piece there. Nice border. Again, save these long pieces. Here's our foiled corner. Artistic butterflies on the other side. And here's the butterflies all mobbing that flower. Again, very interesting use to have these very informal pattern together with that very, very highly artsy in one kit. Interesting. You can get some very, very different cards out of this set. Let's start with that little topper. This card is created using that tattered lace easel card kit I told you about. When you cut your cardstock, I used a piece of lavender adorable scoreable. And yes, it will cut something as heavy as adorable scoreable when you're using a tattered lace background die. Simple cuts will cut through adorable scoreable. I wouldn't try cutting adorable scoreable with anything as detailed as this. But for these background pieces, it's great. It's got a lot of structure, so that worked well. So I cut my background piece. It's already scored when it comes out of the machine, so I folded it on the 2 score lines. And then I cut this piece out of pearl lace, or out of pearl paper, and created this lace piece. And then I mounted that on a piece of gold Mary. And you get that gorgeous lace finish. I added the outside frame. I glued that down solidly. And then I raised my inner piece up on some foam tape. I added 2 of those wonderful lavender flourishes. And my little just to say is up on some more foam tape. Then I glittered just around the outlines of the butterflies, just to give it a little touch of glitter. On the inside, I lined it with my corresponding insert paper and put my other little topper up on some foam tape, a double layer of foam tape to create my stopper for my easel. But didn't that turn out beautiful? Love it. Love it, love it. Here's those same little butterflies again. This time I've used an A7 card. A 5x7 is A7. And I've covered it with a piece of kind of light purple. It's a lavender, but it's kind of a red-based lavender. Piece out of my 50 Shades pack. I cut out my cardstock. This is actually one of the background sheets, the corresponding card. I cut that just slightly smaller. I only wanted like an 1/8 of an inch border, so I cut it 1/4 of an inch smaller, so 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And I mounted that. I actually put some foam tape under it to give it some dimension. And before I mounted it, I added my bow. When I tied my bow, I left extra long tails on this crocheted ribbon, and I wrapped the ribbon around the back sides. Then I ran a piece of ultra heavy tape, or that red liner tape, a 1/2 inch strip of red liner tape underneath this crocheted bow to keep it anchored in place all the way. And then I anchored it to the back, and because I have this all foam tape, there's not any funny bulge there. Everything is standing up, so it slides right under. I added my little "especially for you" on some foam tape, and then some tasteful little touches of glitter. I added my, oops, I forgot to say, I added my rhinestones to the heads of the butterflies before I put on my glitter. Here's the first of those really artsy butterflies. At first I wasn't sure that I liked this, but I sure had fun embellishing it. I have a little of everything in there, but I think it turned out really pretty. In fact, this is one of the most popular cards with the kids. Lots of rhinestones of all different colors. We use that little embellishment piece here, use that pretty flourish here, and I've mounted it all on that ultra foiled corner. So that's bright, but I like it. Here's our little trio of butterflies. And when I said that I cut up one of the flourishes before, this is the one I did that on. I just thought they needed something, so I trailed these little flourishes out behind my butterflies. Used lots of glitter on this one and lots of rhinestones. It was fun. And I used bright fuchsia in the background on my 50 Shades covered my A2 card with that bright fuchsia Mary board. I think it was fun and festive and pretty. Our last set is called Jeweled Moments, and this is a collection of tags. And so we have 6 tags, all generously sized. We have Happy Birthday, we have Never Let Anything Dull Your Sparkle, we have Just For You, and we have Wishing You Everything Wonderful sentiments to go with those tags. We get another chance to see each of those. We have this very pretty corner treatment with a, I'm not even sure what the flower is. It might not be a real kind of flower. It looks like kind of an artsy flower, but that's pretty. And then we have this beautiful all over pattern. Isn't that gorgeous? Let's see what we did with them. First I'm going to show you the first I'm going to show you the gift bags. These are what I did with some of my tags. We got these fun gift bags in recently. I have a nice price on them, and they come in sets of 3. So here's the red one with the tag, and all I've done is just added some rhinestones and a little glitter to my tag, tied it on with a glittered tag. But isn't that pretty? That'd be a fun gift bag to give. Here's my orange one. There's my hummingbirds, and I thought they matched especially well with the orange. Just added 3 little gems there, a little sparkle to my butterflies, and very pretty gift bag. And here's the gold one with the peacock. Added lots of rhinestones to the peacock and some glitter to the peacock. Tied it on with a little piece of gold organza ribbon, and I think that's really pretty. And the other 3 cards, one of these is going to look familiar because I got it into the wrong set earlier. This one I think we already talked about. This one, I've used that same pearl paper to cut that panel, and then I mounted the panel itself on lavender mirror board. Put both of those, put that on a piece of A2 cardstock I had covered with gold mirror board. And I used the Never Let Anything Dull Your Sparkle tag on here. I outlined my dragonflies in glitter and added stones to their wings and used that glitter ribbon. I think that's really pretty. Little stone up here to accent that flower. Oh, I didn't show you the inside. Matched it. And put an extra little piece of my ribbon inside. And finally, this is our last card from this set. This one is, I actually covered the card with a piece of my insert material because I didn't find a piece that was as light colored as I wanted for this, so I used a piece of my insert paper in a matching pattern to cover the outside of my card. I cut my lace panel out of gold. I just angled my tag, put my ribbon through, and added 3 little dots there, and then added my little air bubbles. This time I used light blue air bubbles instead of the clear I used before. Added my little happy birthday, lined it with the same paper. Done. Very pretty. So this has been the Paradise Jewels kit from Hunkydory. Hunkydory indicates that you should get at least 16 cards from this kit out of the 8 topper sets. We got 36 cards, and we got, in addition, we got 3 gift bags. So I'd say we did pretty well with this one. I'm Debbie. This is Simply Special Crafts. You can buy all of these wonderful supplies on our website, and if you're a newsletter subscriber, I'll actually send you a newsletter with links to all of these products, as well as letting you know anytime we post a new video online. So if you haven't done that yet, go to our website, www.simplyspecialcrafts.com, and slide to the bottom of the page. At the bottom of the page is a newsletter sign-up form. So I hope to see you in the newsletter, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.